Jiro is a lonely gamer at school, known by everyone as Virgin-kun. One day, a group of girls comes up to him, and Akari, the leader of the group, shoves him aside. Jiro hates the way she acts, thinking to himself that he never wants to deal with her again. She treats him like an outcast, just like everyone else. They head to class, and Jiro's crush, Shiori, is excited about a marriage practical. The teacher announces that each student will be randomly paired with someone to pretend they are married to, and must act as the perfect spouse to get the highest rank. Jiro thinks that this could only lead to good things, but instead, he gets paired with Akari. She's not happy about it at all. Jiro tries to be polite to Akari, but she's furious. She has a huge crush on a guy named Tenjin, and is all sweet and nice to him, while completely ignoring Jiro. Meanwhile, Jiro confesses that he doesn't want to be paired with her either. He had someone else in mind. Akari guesses it's Shiori, and mocks him for being so easy to read. She tells him there's no way she'd ever want to be with him, and they argue. As a result, their ranking drops from 0 to -3, which means they need to get along to raise their score. At this rate, they'll need more than just teamwork to raise their score. Maybe some private practice sessions. Akari yells at Jiro, demanding that they start pretending to be a good couple so they can reach an I rank and switch partners after a month. Jiro had no idea about the I rank, but Akari explains that if they get to that rank, they can switch partners. He realizes that pretending to be the perfect couple might actually help them both, though he's worried it could be dangerous. Akari whispers in his ear, saying that she'll be the perfect wife for him, and that she's counting on him. This causes their rank to go up a bit, but Jiro, being the typical anime protagonist, decides to walk away. Akari said she wants to be the perfect wife for me. Too bad I'm still trying to figure out how to insert my save file properly.
Emotional, damn it!
Akari, on the other hand, sits down sadly. She doesn't want anyone else to take Tenjin away from her, so she must try her best in this practice marriage, even though it's her first time doing something like this. Later, Jiro goes to get a drink and sees his crush, Shiori, with Tenjin. They're both happy to be paired together. Jiro runs home feeling down and, in true Virgin-kun fashion, turns into a stone statue in his room. Guess Akari wasn't the only thing that was hard for him that day. Akari, being her usual sassy self, mocks him, calling him a killjoy, and telling him that he'll never stand a chance against Tenjin if he keeps moping around. Jiro, feeling really sad, finally admits to Akari that he's feeling miserable. To his surprise, Akari softens up. She tells him that she actually wants to be a good wife to him, because if they take this seriously, they can both get the happy ending and maybe even get practice for when they're with the person they truly love. She holds his face and tells him that being sad and mopey won't get him anywhere. Jiro's friend rings the doorbell, and Jiro gets ready to leave. Akari, in her playful way, tells him that he shouldn't leave while they still have negative points, and asks him for a goodbye kiss. Jiro, thinking she means a kiss on the cheek, leans in to kiss her. However, Akari laughs and calls him and his friend a bunch of virgin losers. Little did she know Jiro was about to lose something else when she asked for a goodbye kiss.
I am the way you...
Jiro, embarrassed, ends up kissing her on the lips. Guess his aim isn't the only thing that's off-center. He blushes and quickly walks away, while Akari, flustered, didn't expect it to happen. That night, Jiro dreams of Shiori waking him up with a kiss. He wakes up with a bang on the head from Akari. At least someone was giving him head that morning, who asks what he meant by, "Kiss me." Jiro doesn't remember how he fell asleep, but vividly remembers how the kiss with Akari felt. The next day at school, Jiro sees Shiori hugging Tenjin, and he pretends to be upset. He spends the whole class trying to get her attention, but she doesn't even look his way. After school, it starts to rain, and Jiro realizes he forgot his umbrella. At this point, I'm used to things being wet without any warning. The boys talk about their gotcha games while Akari interrupts them. She tells Jiro that she'll be late today because she's going to a cafe with her friends, and Tenjin will be there too. She casually reminds him that the teacher told them to meet at the office, but Jiro, in his usual Virgin-kun fashion, complains about it being the worst day ever. His childhood friend, who's good-looking and popular, always teases him. He even jokes that Jiro must be the hero of some harem anime because of all the attention he gets from girls. Jiro, however, doesn't feel like a hero at all. In fact, he's not even sure if anyone really needs him. At school, Jiro's grade has been stuck at the lowest rank for 2 weeks, and his teacher warns him that if he keeps failing to earn points, he won't be able to graduate. Meanwhile, Akari is at a karaoke bar, flirting with Tenjin, the guy she has a crush on. Jiro, on the other hand, is sitting outside, waiting for the rain to stop. He doesn't have an umbrella, and can't help but feel like Akari is having a much better time with Tenjin than he is. Suddenly, Shiori, his crush, appears behind him. She asks to sit next to him since she also forgot her umbrella. Shiori hugs Jiro's arm to stay warm and says she did it because she was scared of a bug. Yeah, sure. And I bet Tenjin's bug is way scarier. He wonders if she only hugged Tenjin for the same reason. He calls her by her formal last name, but she tells him she hates it and wants him to call her by her first name like he used to. Jiro is a bit confused, but tries to be brave and stutters her name out. Just then, Tenjin appears and tells Shiori he'll walk her home because she doesn't have an umbrella. Jiro watches them leave, feeling a little jealous. Akari, who has been waiting outside in the rain, finally comes in and decides to walk home with Jiro under his umbrella. On the way, she complains about having to walk with him instead of Tenjin. Jiro apologizes, and she asks him if he has any real plans to get the girl he likes. She pinches his cheek and tells him not to give up, for both of their sakes. As they walk, Akari mentions she's hungry. Jiro offers to take her to a convenience store, but she says no. Instead, she invites him over to her place, where she makes him homemade omelet rice. She carefully pours ketchup on the rice and tells him to move slowly so it doesn't squirt out too quickly. If only she took her own advice with other things.
Not bad.
Be more gentle, she teases. Jiro takes a bite, and he thinks it's delicious. He then tries to feed her a spoonful, but she refuses and embarrasses him in front of her. He tells her he won't do it again, but she just gets up and eats the rice herself. Jiro is feeling flustered, and his heart is pounding. Meanwhile, Shiori comes to his door, calling his name. She's drenched from the rain and asks if she can stay with him for a bit. Jiro is surprised, and they have a moment where he almost kisses her, but then he hears Akari's voice outside, calling him to hurry up. Akari storms in, hugs Jiro, and tells him she wants him to stay with her for the night. As they sit together, an insect-like creature appears in the room. Akari screams in fear, and Jiro realizes that she's pretending to be scared. Akari screamed at the bug, but Jiro knew she was faking. After all, she wasn't scared of handling his stick earlier.
Yeah, boy.
She says that someone told her that watching horror movies together will help them get a lot of points. Jiro turns off the TV, telling her that it's pointless. Akari insists that she's doing this, so they can get the highest rank and switch partners. Then Akari has another idea. She bought matching pajamas for both of them and wants Jiro to wear them so they can earn even more points. Didn't realize teamwork involved so much undressing.
We must stay focused, brothers.
Jiro is confused because ever since she went to karaoke with Tenjin, she's been acting over the top. He wonders if something happened between them, but he pretends like he doesn't care. Akari tells him to turn around so she can change into her pajamas. Jiro, not wanting to miss the opportunity, decides to change in front of her too. Just then, lightning strikes, causing the lights to go out. Jiro can't see anything, and in the dark, Akari suddenly jumps on top of him. Guess she really wanted to see if his rank was rising. He feels awkward and embarrassed, but the rank meter goes up, which means they're getting closer to their goal. Jiro quickly grabs his phone to turn on the light, and he sees Akari crying. She's upset that he saw her like this, and Jiro realizes that she's not as tough as she seems. Akari gets angry that he saw her tears, but Jiro starts to understand that maybe, just maybe, she's not as indifferent as she pretends to be. Their strange partnership continues to develop, and both of them are starting to show different sides of themselves. Jiro's feelings for Shiori remain, but Akari's actions keep him confused and on edge. Jiro tries to open the door to his room, but it won't budge. The rooms at school are equipped with fingerprint scanners to ensure privacy, and only the person who owns the room can enter. Jiro struggles, unable to fix it, and starts feeling like Akari doesn't think much of him. But even though he's frustrated, he doesn't mind being stuck in this situation, especially since she's so close to him. Akari, pressed up against him, tells him to say something funny. She jokes that no girl would ever like him if he can't come up with a good story or a joke. Trying to impress her, Jiro starts telling a story in a faraway land, but Akari starts laughing, thinking it's just a fairy tale. However, things take a darker turn when Jiro tells her an old and creepy legend about a ghost. It's about an old couple who avoided a well, and on stormy nights, a ghostly woman would appear by the well. As Jiro gets into the story, he notices Akari closing her ears, clearly scared. Akari calls him a vermin and a virgin for scaring her. The only thing rising in this room is the rank meter, and maybe something else. Jiro quickly apologizes, feeling bad for making her so scared. Akari then says that Tenjin would never have done that to her. Yeah, because Tenjin's too busy making girls scream in other ways. She holds his hand and asks if she can depend on him a little. Jiro starts to think she's cute, but he quickly stops himself, realizing he almost got too close. Then, Akari finds a flameless candle next to her, a gift from a friend at school. They end up spending some quiet time together. Jiro, feeling a bit flustered, thinks to himself that he just confessed his feelings out loud. He wonders if Akari heard him, but luckily, she's asleep. Jiro smiles and says quietly, "Good night," as he drifts off to sleep. Akari, still awake, wonders what he meant by that, as she heard everything he said. Finally, the grades for the first 2 weeks are posted. All of Jiro's friends are doing great, but when Akari looks at the board, she sees that they are still at E rank, the lowest. Jiro starts worrying about Shiori, knowing that she hasn't been doing well with Tenjin either. Despite all their hard work, nothing would matter if Shiori and Tenjin didn't make it to I rank. Later, Jiro gets a text from Akari while he's sick. He remembers that Akari left him to hang out with her friends while he was unwell, and he wonders if Shiori would have looked after him if she were the one there. He wishes Akari would come to visit him, even if it's just for their pretend marriage. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Jiro thinks it's Akari, but when he opens the door, he finds Shiori standing there instead. Meanwhile, Akari is at home with her friends, but she looks like she's falling asleep. Her friends tease her, suggesting that she's probably thinking about Tenjin. They joke that the pancakes they're making should have the same texture as a real kiss. Pancakes aren't the only thing she's been tasting lately.
We must stay focused, brothers.
Akari immediately gets defensive, insisting that they're wrong. Her friends are curious why she knows so much about kisses, and Akari, frustrated, doesn't know why she's thinking so much about Jiro. Shiori then reveals that it was actually Akari who asked her to help Jiro while he was sick. Jiro is incredibly grateful and realizes that Akari has been a great wingman for him. Shiori also brings him a gift, something that reminds her of when Jiro visited her when they were younger and gave her a head pat when she was sick. She gives it to him now and heads into the kitchen to prepare food for him. Jiro starts to worry about getting the wrong idea again, especially since Shiori is now wearing an apron. If this were a rom-com, the only thing getting stuffed tonight would be me, and maybe that turkey.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
This situation takes Jiro back to middle school. He remembers when Shiori was about to transfer, and he wanted to confess his feelings to her before she left. Just as he was about to tell her, Shiori asked if he would always be her friend, even after she left. Jiro, unsure of what to say, told her that he would always be her friend. In the end, he chickened out, and she friend-zoned him. Now, Jiro eats the food Shiori made for him, and she's happy that he was able to eat it on his own. But Jiro begins to feel a deep sense of regret. Bro, if you wanted her to handle your spoon, you should have spoken up years ago. He realizes that he missed his chance for Shiori to feed him, something he had always dreamed of. Tears start to well up in his eyes as he thinks about how Tenjin is probably the one enjoying her food every day, something Jiro never got to experience. Shiori and Tenjin take turns cooking for each other, which Jiro reveals while talking to Akari. He admits that Akari handles all the cooking and is actually an amazing cook, even though she doesn't look like one. Shiori asks Jiro if everything is okay between them, but instead of answering, he asks if she's all right since he noticed that their ranking is low. He pretends to be concerned, but deep down, he wants to live with her. Shiori thanks him and says she's doing her best to succeed. She jokes that it would have been better if Jiro were her husband, but quickly adds that she was just kidding. As she stands up to leave, Jiro holds her hand and encourages her to be more confident. He suddenly feels embarrassed for rushing and wonders if he made her uncomfortable. He gets scared, realizing that one day she might feel more comfortable around him, and that makes him nervous. Later, as Jiro sleeps, Shiori softly says she was happy when he called her by her first name. She leans over to his bed, feeling a mix of emotions. Meanwhile, the other girls talk about Shiori to Akari. They call her sweet and pure, and think that Tenjin might end up falling for her if she made a move. They ask Akari what she thinks, but she doesn't seem to pay much attention, as her mind is somewhere else. Back at the apartment, Shiori almost kisses Jiro, but stops herself, remembering that they're not married. She reflects on the day she asked him to always be her friend. She had planned to spend Christmas with him, but before she could finish, Jiro stood up and said he had to leave. Feeling rejected, Shiori thinks that if she tries harder this time, Jiro might listen to her and understand how she feels. Jiro asks Shiori to talk and tells her that he will do his best to be her husband. He promises to help her end up with Tenjin, saying he'll do everything he can to make sure it happens. Akari thinks this is great but doesn't understand why it makes her feel upset. She asks Jiro if guys like girls like Shiori, who are sincere and sweet. Jiro tells her his opinion doesn't matter because she likes Tenjin. But Akari insists that since Jiro promised to help her, he should give her an answer. She bends over the table, waiting for him to respond. Jiro tells her that a home-cooked lunch filled with love would be the best way to make a guy happy, especially coming from someone like Akari. He adds that no one would expect it. Jiro then begins helping her with her lunchbox plan. They cook together, and Jiro sees that Akari has made an amazing lunch for him. He eats it and says it's really good, but he would have liked it sweeter. Akari replies that she doesn't care about his preferences because Tenjin has a more mature vibe. Jiro tells her she shouldn't be asking him then. Akari makes him a lunchbox to take with him. Jiro's friend jokes about how his relationship chart looks like it's straight out of an erotic manga. Jiro asks him to stop, but his friend teases him for still being a virgin while constantly being surrounded by beautiful women. He asks if Jiro is one of those harem protagonists who does nothing with anyone, even though he's always with attractive girls. Akari overhears them talking about her and asks how the lunch was. Jiro says it was very good, but still wishes it were sweeter. Akari gets upset and tells him she doesn't care about his preferences, and they start arguing. Meanwhile, Jiro's friend tunes them out by thinking of a song in his head. That night, Jiro plays his game, and the next morning, he sees the food Akari has made for Tenjin. He thinks it looks amazing. She feeds him her rolled omelets to taste, and he eats it, but still thinks it isn't sweet enough. He feels sad, remembering that the girl he's in love with is making lunch for another man, while Tenjin, her husband, gets the food. Jiro realizes there's no sweetness here, neither in the food nor in his situation. Later, Akari dresses up to prepare lunch for him, and Jiro notices she's never worn anything like that when she's with him. She asks him for a goodbye gesture, similar to what he did last time. Jiro gets confused and thinks he can't do it. Jiro asks Akari if she's sure she wants to be with Tenjin, but Akari tells him that it's his kiss she really wants, because it made her feel safe last time. Jiro realizes he can't refuse her when she says something like that. Shiori suddenly arrives at the door with apple pies she made. She says she made extra for them because Tenjin likes sweet things, and she wanted to make something that would suit his taste. Jiro comments that he never expected this, and Akari stares at the pies sadly, calling them delicious. She feels down, thinking that Tenjin prefers sweet things. Jiro notices her sadness and tries to cheer her up by praising her cooking. He tells her that every guy thinks she's amazing, but when she asks in what way, he awkwardly says, "In a beautiful way, and you're every guy's fantasy." He quickly realizes he made things worse and tries to fix his mistake. Akari then asks him if he thinks of her in that way, and he lies, saying he's never thought about it. She calls him a liar and climbs on top of him, asking if he's ever thought about doing more intimate things with her. She asks him how many times he's thought about it and what he thinks. Jiro tells her to stop, but she presses on, asking if he's ever wanted to try it with her. She tells him that if he does, she will grant his wish. Jiro feels unsure, But when he sees her shaking, he stops and tells her that he won't go through with it. He says that only lovers should do things like this and feels sad that he lost his chance. Akari gets up, telling him to stop using the married excuse. Jiro is left in confusion and sadness, unsure of what to do next. He wonders what will happen with his feelings and Akari's. As things get more complicated, he ends the conversation with a sense of regret.